Hey everyone, One Big Boss here. As you can tell by the title of the video that you clicked on, we're talking video games, but more specifically, video games are endangered right now, and it's no more apparent than ever in these last recent years of where physical media is going. Now, obviously, if you guys have been on this channel for a while, and if you haven't, please click that subscribe button because it helps out the channel. I am a big fan of retro gaming and physical media in general. I mean, not just with video games. If you guys saw my my DVD and Blu-ray collection over here, my vinyl collection, and one of the other vinyl collections I have in my other room, it's kind of insane. And, you know, physical media is something that people like to have because they feel that they're using their hard-earned money and they own something. They actually own it now. And you have memories of getting that video game or that record, you know? It means something to have that. But unfortunately, with how gaming distribution is and how gaming companies are when it comes to their retro titles, well, games are in danger. That's the best way I could put it. There's an article here from Kotaku. I want to read some stuff in it for you guys because it's very interesting, and I'm going to talk about how I feel a little bit about it more after we read the article. So let's get into this and see what they have to say. Despite being a billion-dollar industry, video games are something of a dying medium, as a vast array of titles are frequently killed off in one way or another. However, according to a new study, the number of games being lost to time is a quite staggering nearly 9 out of 10 US games are critically endangered. The Video Game History Foundation, VGHF, partnered with the Software Preservation Network, an organization intent on advancing software preservation through collective action, to release a report on the disappearances of classic video games. Classic, in this case, has been defined as all games released before 2010. Which the VGHF noted in the year when digital gaming distribution started taking off. It did. My friends and I actually were talking about that a couple years ago when we first talked about it way back then, like 2010, 2011. We saw all these great games coming out digitally, but we started getting worried about what the future of physical gaming would really be. In the study, the groups found that 87% of these classic games are not in release and considered critically endangered due to their widespread unavailability. One example from the paper is 2006's Yakuza on the PlayStation 2. It's been remade in the form of 2016's Yakuza Kiwami, which is hailed as excellent. But as the VGHF specified, Yakuza Kiwami is a complete remake from the ground up and should be considered a separate title, especially since the original game is no longer in print. This is what the VGHF is arguing for. For accessing nearly 9 in 10 classic games, there are a few options. Seek out and maintain vintage collectible games and hardware, travel across the country to visit a library, or piracy. Co-director Kelsey Lewin wrote, "None of those options are desirable," which means most video games are inaccessible to all but those most diehard and dedicated fans, and that's pretty grim. And they are right. This is very grim that this is what it has come to. And it's absolutely disgusting. I want to read another part of here that should really help you guys get a mindset of what we've lost in the last couple of years. When the eShop shut down the availability of the Game Boy library, the number of available video games went from something like 11% to 4.5%, Lewin said. The company wiped out half of the availability of the library of Game Boy games just by shutting down the Nintendo eShop. And this is very true. They did. They shut it down, and there's a lot of problems with that. Look, I love video games, clearly. As you can tell from the wall of games behind me and all the videos I've done in the past 10 years of this channel, I love games, and I am a big fan of preservation. And what these guys are trying to do is they're trying to fix these weird copyright laws. And I get it. A lot of companies are trying to protect their intellectual property, which I can understand. But at the same time, they are destroying their intellectual properties by not allowing people to play where these games come from. Let's look at the Yakuza game, for example, right? Yakuza Kiwami is a good remake. It is stellar. It is absolutely amazing. And if you aren't playing the Yakuza games, please go do that right now. They are absolutely amazing. But the thing of it is, Yakuza from 2006 is a little bit different in many ways from the remake. There's still a lot of similarities. It's pretty much the same game, but there are differences here and there. And I think it's one of those things where, yeah, you need to play the original to kind of appreciate where this remake came from. Best example for all my Resident Evil fans, I know you guys will understand this. Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1 is the game that started it all. Then the remake came out. Now, granted, the remake in many ways is a carbon copy of the original, but it is built from the ground up. There's a lot of the same areas, but there's also new areas and new puzzles added to it, new enemies, and you could go back if you're a newer fan of the series, like you joined during the hype of Resident Evil 7 or Resident Evil 4 Remake, and you want to go back and play those older games to see what they were back in the 90s and what made the franchise what it is, well, you can't for the most part. I mean, yes, now with the PlayStation 5, you can play Resident Evil Director's Cut on it, but there's not 2 and 3 on there, and the only way to get those games is to boot up your PS3 and download the original 3 right there. That's all you can do at this point. So companies need to stop doing this. I have talked about this for years. Like, where am I going to be able to play this game, right? Say this cart stops working one day. Where am I going to be able to play Pocky and Rocky legally, right? The only way that I'm going to be able to play this game is if I buy it off of eBay. And do you guys know what this thing goes for right now on eBay? It is stupid expensive for a game that almost nobody's ever heard of, but it's one of my favorite games of all time. Me and my best friend have cracked hardcore on this for years. You guys have seen it on the channel. But I'm right about this. Or what happens when you want to play Silent Hill, because the new Silent Hill games that are coming out very soon from Konami, they're, it gets you wanting to play Silent Hill 2 or 3 or even something like Silent Hill Shattered Memories. How are you going to play this if you don't have a PlayStation 2, right? Or how are you going to play it when there's no digital version of this? Especially, you want to see what this goes for on eBay? Go on eBay and look it up, because your jaw's going to hit the freaking floor. And let's go back with more Resident Evil stuff. Resident Evil Outbreak. This thing is literally locked to the PlayStation 2. There's no way to play this other than playing it on the PS2. There are other ways, and there's a lot of fun ways to play it, especially with people online, because there was people that got it working. But besides that, you can't play this anywhere else. You can't download this for $10 or anything. And one of the big issues we have is these companies have them locked behind a vault, and companies could end up in some way, shape, or form losing access to the original source codes of those games, and that has happened for games throughout history. So for me, I see this as something really big, and my light just went, oh, damn you, light. But I really do want to see gaming companies start doing better. Start re-releasing these things digitally, because I'm happy that Capcom has been doing it. Capcom's been doing it with a lot of their, collections lately. You can play the old Mega Man games. You can play every Darkstalker game pretty much, and that's absolutely amazing to play that. You can play all the Mega Man games. You can play a bunch of the classic Capcom beat-em-up games. There's so many great things that Capcom's doing in that aspect where you can buy these things. But what Nintendo does, they took away the eShop, which was absolutely ridiculous that they did. They have an online service that you have to pay for now to access these older games, and they barely even update them. I'm not trying to crap on Nintendo or anything, but I want them to do better, because they used to give us, monthly games when it was just the NES. Now they don't. They don't give us any of that stuff. And this is what I'm talking about. Video games are getting harder and harder to find. Like, I've been going to retro game stores a little bit more and trying to see what I can find. And the price for some games are like $200-$300 just to play a game. And again, emulation is not the answer like a lot of people think it is, because emulation doesn't always run well. There's a lot of games that can't be emulated properly. Or when you try playing them, there's glitches here and there. So the importance of a lot of games are going to go missing. And if you've ever thought that this is not that big of a deal, it is. It's called history. And video games have shaped our history for the last 40 plus years, honestly, given like their humble beginnings to where we're at now at Hollywood level stuff. So I think at the end of the day, people need to take this more seriously, and companies need to stop being so stingy and at least just give us digital access to a lot of them. I mean, why has PlayStation not released a lot of their games that they own personally for PlayStation 5? I would rather just be like, during the PS3 era and the Wii and the Wii U era, 3DS era, where I could just digitally download my games and have them, because then they're mine, because I don't feel we actually own a lot of our games anymore. I mean, hell, when you buy a disc, the full game isn't even on the disc anymore. So at the end of the day, we all need to do our part to support this, because video game preservation is a part of our lives. It's a part of our culture, and many of us have fond memories of playing the games. I mean, look how crazy people went years ago. You guys remember, like, I think it was like shortly before the pandemic when they released the NES Classic and then the Super Nintendo Classic. My friends who worked at Best Buy and GameStop, they said it was a nightmare during that time because of how bad people wanted those things, right? So, there are people out there that just want to play these games. I mean, seriously, Sega, do that. Like, Sega, we're still waiting for the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast Mini. Where is the Dreamcast Mini at this point? Because I would really love one of those to play a lot of classic games on, okay? And companies, if you're going to do anything with these games, take your time when bringing them from like the Super Nintendo, like the Mega Man collections. Take your time and really make these games look clean and nice. Because again, we can have remakes of games and be happy with those, but some people might want to see the beginnings of where these games came from, how they looked, how they played back then. It's a big part of who we are. So hopefully things can change and these laws will change, because sometimes when a law goes in effect, it's good at the time, but well, over time it's not. And it actually can hurt in the long run, and that's where we're at now. So you guys have heard me rant and rave and my 2 cents and all that jazz. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Are you all about preserving video games? Do you want companies to start putting older games out to make you happy to buy their systems? Because that would be a huge system seller if you allowed that. Again, all these companies seem to just kind of not understand that, but let me know down in the comments below. So with that being said, please thumbs up and subscribe, because it's free in this day and age. Free is a damn good thing. As always, everybody, thank you for watching. I'm One Big Boss, and I will see you all next time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you could give this video a thumbs up and a share, helps the channel out big time. Give me a follow on Twitter and Discord, where I'm most active. Links down below in the description. Also, I stream on Twitch, so if you'd like to see me play a bunch of new to retro games, well, click down below, give it a follow, greatly appreciate it. Till next time, guys, be safe and have a good one.